Oh, are we going? Oh, stand by. Okay. I don't know who did that. Who
knows? This is 5 on 20 News with Luke Goodhart
and Ty Besh. It is Wednesday today, May 31st. We are coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson, and we're going to give you the brief news today. So let's talk some headlines, local maybe, hopefully?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Devastating news. On Monday night, a fire nearly destroyed the 60-year-old chapel at the DeGracia Gallery in the Sun in Catalina foothills. Firefighters arrived around 6 p.m. to find flames coming off the roof of the building and were able to extinguish the fire, but not before the chapel suffered devastating damage, especially to the wooden roof and iconic murals adorning the plastered adobe walls. The chapel was built by artist Ted DeGracia in 1952 in honor of Southwest Jesuit missionary Father Eusebio Kino and dedicated to Our Lady of Guadalupe. It has been open to the public 24/7 and is used as a place where people light candles and leave trinkets and photographs in honor of departed family members. Officials are still investigating the cause of the fire, and no damage estimates have been made available at this time.
Arizona Representative Raul Grijalva will visit Tijuana, Mexico on Saturday to meet with veterans who were deported from the U.S. The visit comes soon after Grijalva reintroduced House Resolution 1405, also known as the Veterans Visa and Protections Act, or VVAPA, which would create a visa program especially for veterans who would become U.S. citizens if they met certain standards. Eligible veterans would be those who were not deported or ordered deported for a criminal conviction that involved violence or that endangered national security, and who served at least 5 years in prison for the crime. So this is basically him just being like, hey, sorry, like, you can't come back and be a part of my program, so like, here's some tacos?
Man,
what is he gonna bring?
I don't know.
Tamales?
Stop it. The city of Tucson released details today on which streets the Prop 101 funding will go toward. According to Mike Graham, Public Information Officer for the Tucson Department of Transportation, the funding will be split among 3 different types of road repairs. $5 million will go toward basic road maintenance, where the repairs will be done every few years. $55 million will go toward reconstructing old roads, which will involve crews laying new asphalt after the old roads are torn up. The remaining $40 million will be allocated for fixing up neighborhood streets. The city of Tucson released a map earlier today that details which streets will be impacted. Prop 101, which passed on May 16th, frees up $250 million, with $100 million used to restore city roads and the other $150 used to upgrade public safety vehicles and equipment for the Tucson Fire and Police Departments. If you're sick of potholes on your own street, contact Michael Graham at the Tucson Department of Transportation at michael.graham@tucsonaz.gov to request attention from the city.
I feel like we should have put that up on the screen, like follow the bouncing ball.
Did we not? Yeah.
Email him. We didn't. A Yuma County man is accused of having sex with a horse, which the Yuma County Sheriff's Office says was caught on video. The poor horse, probably named Harris. Christopherson Maines, which probably was the name of the horse, was arrested on charges of bestiality, indecent exposure, and animal cruelty Monday night after he was caught in the act on a property in Dateland. Maines, or Moms, says that he was simply looking for a ride home. A ride home.
Eek. According to multiple inside sources, the Trump administration is preparing to pull out of the Paris Agreement, the largest climate deal in history to cut carbon emissions worldwide. This morning, Donald Trump tweeted that he would be making the decision in the next few days, but White House insiders say that the decision has already been made. If the U.S. pulls out of the agreement, they would join Syria and Nicaragua in being the only 3 countries not to participate. Without U.S. involvement, the Paris Agreement is likely to fail because the U.S. is one of the largest emitters of carbon in the world. White House staffers have been split on the decision, with EPA Chief Scott Pruitt and advisor Steve Bannon wanting an exit from the deal. The issue has torn a wedge in the relationship between the U.S. and Germany, whose leader Angela Merkel said over the weekend that the world can no longer depend on the U.S. to make the right decision.
Well, to make any decision at all.
Or any decision.
And I think we mentioned this on the news before, like Trump mentioned, that's all fake, you know. Climate change, it's fake. So the Chinese made it up. Even though our president doesn't appear to care about climate change, there you go. That isn't the case for Exxon shareholders. This morning, shareholders for the largest oil company in the U.S. voted to ask the company to disclose information detailing the risks of how attempts to stem climate change could harm business. Under the resolution, Exxon will be asked to estimate how the Paris Climate Change Agreement will impact its business worldwide, not just the U.S., because gas exists everywhere. Exxon CEO Darren Woods reinstated the company's support of the agreement, which is opposed by the Trump administration. Two of the company's biggest shareholders, Vanguard Group and BlackRock Incorporated, also supported the shareholder measure passed today. The vote came at the same time that New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman is investigating Exxon for withholding information about the effects of climate change, which, again, is not real. Just to be clear, ExxonMobil, one of the largest companies in the world for oil, is now more concerned about the environment than our own government and president.
That's super creepy. A representative from the Mwatana Organization for Human Rights spoke to the UN Security Council this morning about the state of the civil war in Yemen. Human rights activist Radia al-Mutawakkel called for comprehensive peace talks in the country and an investigation into human rights violations by Saudi and UAE forces who were battling Houthi militants in Yemen. The Houthis took over large swaths of the country after the former president was exiled to the UAE. Saudi Arabia has received weapons and financial support from the U.S. in the war, which has devastated Yemen's civil society and infrastructure. The country is suffering from wide-scale famine, and human rights activists say that Yemen is on the verge of complete collapse.
A Chinese labor activist was detained after working undercover to investigate labor abuses by the supplier of Ivanka Trump's shoe brand. She has shoes as well. Is it Hua Haifeng?
Hua Haifeng, I believe.
Hua Haifeng and two other activists were arrested by the Chinese government after they allegedly witnessed examples of forced overtime and wage violations, Danny, at the facility, which also produces products for Karl Lagerfeld, Coach, and Nine West. China Labor Watch, or CLW, and Amnesty International, AI, have called for the release of the three activists and are asking that Donald Trump press for their freedom. What was that word that he tweeted? However, so far, there has been no comment from the Chinese government, the Trump administration, or Ivanka Trump, oddly enough.
What do you know about that? A massive blast tore through Kabul, Afghanistan this morning, killing at least 90 people and injuring more than 400 in the most devastating attacks to hit the area. The Taliban denied responsibility for the attack, which occurred near the German embassy. A truck loaded with bombs went off during rush hour in the city, shattering the windows of the buildings over half a mile away. Among the victims was a team of journalists for the BBC whose driver was killed, along with non-life-threatening injuries to the 4 journalists. In the wake of the attack, Germany has suspended deportation proceedings for Afghans who were to be sent back to Afghanistan. This was Luke Goodhart.
Anti-Bash for 5 on 20 News. Thanks for watching, guys. Another beautiful day in America, in the U.S. and the world.
Se Covfefe, Tucson.
Se Covfefe. Well, he was drinking popcorn the entire time.
We trying to see our people free, develop a socialist society. Honestly, tired of
I fooled everyone. They're like, where's that? That's crazy.